Squirrels! So hello, and welcome to another Legends of Runeterra video. My name is Chris, and today we will be playing some Yetis, which got significantly better after the recent patch, and I, for one, am very glad about it, because I think Yetis are a very fun way to play. As my voice croaks up a bit. So let's talk through the deck. Well, it is a Yeti deck, so you'll be expecting some Yetis, but I'll go through card by card. We are running one Brittle Steel. Now, one Brittle Steel is interesting. Obviously, this is normally a card that you see three of, often in most Freljord decks, to be honest. And I think it isn't as necessary in this deck, simply because obviously we are running Yetis, and Yetis are big 5/5s, and a lot of our creatures are pretty big and beefy themselves, so therefore we don't really need Brittle Steel as often. It is still a good card, obviously. It shuts down stuff like Zed and Elise potentially as well, or any early game threat really, so it is still a good card, and I think one of is a good spot for it to be in. Elixir of Iron is a pretty crucial card, obviously. Again, pretty much a Freljord standard card, same with Omenhawk. And then we get to the Yetis, Yeti Yearling. This card is an interesting one, and one that honestly I'm kind of unsure about, because it's kind of a trap card, and I'll explain why. Because Yeti Yearling is a 1-mana 1/2 Yeti and synergizes really well with Tall Tales. However, it kind of has a bit of a hard time, because you play Yeti Yearling on 1, right? Then you've got 2 mana for your next turn, which means that you can't Tall Tale the next turn, and then you have to do it on turn 3, and by turn 3, if Yeti Yearling is your only Yeti on the board, if you play Tall Tales, there's often a way that they could remove Yeti Yearling, unless they tap out. So it kind of makes it a bit dangerous to almost play this card, and use Tall Tales whilst it's on the board. So it honestly is kind of a bit underwhelming, I think. It would almost be better being a 2-mana 2/3, I think. If they made it a 2-mana 2/3, I think it'd be a much better card, because it'd be more safe to play something like Tall Tales. Anyway, moving on. Avarossan Sentry as a 1-of. This is just, again, a way to draw a card, and, you know, is a good chump blocker against aggro. Obviously, when you're deck building, you have to consider all the different matchups that you could face, and if you think a deck is particularly weak in a certain matchup. And for this, what I found was, against aggro, if we don't draw the Yeti package early on, then we kind of do get stuck quite a lot. So I think one Avarossan Sentry as a good chump blocker is often a good way to go. Also draws a card when it dies, and this deck does need some draw a card. It has been a weakness of Freljord for a while. Legion Drummer as a 2-of. We are combining it with Trifarian Glory Seeker. This is a combo that in Noxus has been played quite a bit, and it's a quite neat combo. Also, Glory Seeker obviously goes well with Brittle Steel as well. And Legion Drummer is a pretty solid card as a 2-drop. Then we get to the big boy, Avarossan Trapper. When he's summoned, create an Enraged Yeti in the top 3 cards of your deck. This card used to be completely unplayable. A 3-mana 2/2, unless it has an insane ability, is just not going to get played. And this card did not have an insane ability. It had an ability, you know, it's okay at best. But now as a 3-mana 3/3, now you're looking, if you've got an okay ability, you are playable all of a sudden. And so it fits right in. Katerina as a 2-of. Why is it a 2-of and not a 3-of? Our only champion in this deck, and I will explain why Draven and Ashe might not be in the deck, as they are options that you could consider. Katerina is a 2-of basically because Death Lotus is a bad card, and so you don't really ever need 3 Katerinas, simply because you're hoping that the one Katerina can sort of, you know, attack, come back on its own, and Death Lotus isn't a good enough card on its own to sort of warrant playing 3-of and being okay with having an extra card not be Katerina in your hand. So Katerina as a 2-of. I think this is probably a good time to discuss why Draven and Ashe aren't in the deck. Let's start with Ashe, because I think that one's a bit easier. Ashe, good reasons for her to be in the deck is obviously that she does have 5 attack, and this is a 5 attack synergy deck. And so in that instance, she is quite good. However, we just aren't on the Frostbite game plan at all. We have 1 Brittle Steel, and that's about it in terms of Frostbite. So she's never ever going to level up, and she is still a bit weak with only 3 health. And you know, she doesn't do that much with her unleveled ability. It's really, if you're playing an Ash deck, you want to level up Ash, and so if I think you went for Ash, you'd be in a slightly different deck. And Draven's an interesting one. Draven could definitely fit in, but I think if you put in Draven, you have to the thing that you would sacrifice for Draven is the Yetis, and I want to play with Yetis, because I think, as I said, Yeti Yearling and stuff like that probably are the weakest cards in the deck, and so if you wanted to add in Draven, honestly, it might be a better deck, but I want to go with Yetis and see how that goes, because I think it's more fun. And Draven obviously got buffed recently, which made his level up easier, which makes him even better. So Draven is a definite consideration you might make. With that said, Might as a one-off is, you know, I think pretty obvious why we're playing Might. We're playing a bunch of big 5/5s, giving them Overwhelm and making them 8/5. Could be pretty good. Tall Tales, this is an interesting card, because it can get punished because it's a slow card. However, it does, you know, even if you don't have a Yeti on the board, it will do something at least. It doesn't completely go away, but obviously what you want is to have a Yeti on the board and then create another Yeti on the board. And what I'll say is this card, if you've got a Yeti on the board, and I've had multiple games where you draw 2 of these, and you just slam down 2 more Yetis at the end of a turn, like on the end of, you know, turn 4 or whatever, you slam down 2 more Yetis. It takes a lot for them to come back from that. They are often stuck when there's, you know, 3 5/5s and potentially even more units on the board, and that's kind of what we're aiming for. Whirling Death, because Whirling Death is probably Noxus' best card. Trifarian Assessor is an auto 3 include. It's a very important card in this deck for drawing. For basically, you know, oftentimes in this deck you can draw, you know, 4, 5 cards. The thing is, because Yetis are 5/5s, 3 to 4 is kind of seen in Runeterra obviously as like the big change point where, you know, at 3 they're kind of, you know, not easy to remove, but you can definitely find answers for them. At 4, it's like you might need multiple spells. You might have to sacrifice a creature to it. You might need Thermo Beam as an option, but that's going to take all your mana as well. And so Yetis are hard to kill, really hard to kill. You know, the downside is they don't have Overwhelm, but they're pretty hard to kill, and Assessor therefore can often draw you 4 cards, especially if it gets buffed from Avaros and Hearthguard, which kind of is the reason you want to play this card as well in this deck, is to buff a Trifarian Assessor for when it comes out. It's also 5 attack, which is obviously pretty good, and giving everything 1/1, whilst in this deck is kind of a bit redundant, because obviously we're playing big units anyway. It can sometimes come in massive, you know, often you don't realize how big it can be. And Kato the Arm is also another card that got buffed. As you can see, a lot of cards in this deck got buffed in the recent patch, and I for one welcome it. Kato the Arm is now 5/4, and as I said, the difference between 3 and 4 is massive in this game, and this makes it from like a fringe card that you might have one of in certain decks to this is now like a totally playable card. And if you're playing big units, you should definitely play this card wherever you can, because it will turn those Yetis into 8/5 overwhelms, and it's difficult to remove itself. That's pretty good. Reckoning, again, you've seen how many 5+ attack units we've got. That's kind of the whole theme of a deck as well. So this can win mid-range battles on its own, just straight up against Demacia especially. It will kill pretty much everything below Garen, Cythria. Anything they play before 5 mana will die to this Reckoning, and it feels pretty good when you pull off. And Ancient Yeti are 2 of. Ancient Yeti is an interesting card, right? It's a 5/5 Overwhelm, so it fits the 5 theme. It has Overwhelm, unlike the other Yetis, which is obviously a bonus as well. It costs 7 mana. And it's kind of one of those cards that no one really played, but I think is actually okay. So if you got it in the start, say you got it in your opening hand, right? It's kind of an auto keep in your opening hand, obviously, because it's going to keep going down in cost. It will become a 4 mana card when you can play it for the first time. And that's fine, you know, a 4 mana 5/5 Overwhelm obviously would get played everywhere pretty much. and so that's pretty good. Or you can draw it later on in the game. Now if you top deck it late in the game and it costs 7 mana, that's still fine, because if you think about it, you just top decked a 5/5 Overwhelm. No matter what the mana cost at that point, if you're top decking and you've got full mana available and the game's going on long, it doesn't matter how much the mana cost is of the card, you just want a good card to have. So basically, if you get it at the start, it's going to be a cheap 5/5 Overwhelm. If you get it when you're top decking late at the end of the game, forget the mana cost doesn't matter, you got a 5/5 Overwhelm. That's good. That's probably better stats than what they're gonna get on you, and so that's why it's actually a pretty decent card. And so, with the deck tech done, let's run into some games with these Yeti boys. I did make a video earlier on with Yetis before the update, and I said at the time, like, I didn't do it in the rank queue because I didn't think they were good enough to be in the rank queue. But it won some games there, but now I think this is genuinely a pretty decent deck, and one that I think is a lot of fun to play, and you'll probably see around from time to time. There will be different versions of it, of course. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised for people to see this deck coming up. But right now, of course, we kind of surprise people because they look at a Katerina only deck and they might be a bit surprised at what exactly it is. Better players might figure it out. As we're against Ash Elise, so that's interesting. We've got a pretty Yeti hand here. I don't think we want 2 Yeti yearlings, but I will keep everything else. And Trapper is pretty nice there as well. Unfortunately, they do get the attack on 2, so we hope he doesn't have Elise. As we'll open with Yeti yearling. Ash in this kind of deck is interesting. He could be playing sort of a zombie Ash Rekindler sort of deck, which is certainly interesting. And Frostbite tends to be okay against Yetis. Like, the Frostbite effect is okay. It's very good against Katerina, of course, because it stops her striking. So that's unfortunate that they do get Elise, but we can kill the spider, no problem. This is what I'm talking about, though. So now we block the spider, of course, because there's no reason not to. But now we can't really Tall Tales because this can easily get Var Feasted, and then we just get one at the top of our deck. So instead, we're going to go for the Avarosan Trapper. Instead, hope that Yeti comes out on top, so that next turn we can play yet another Yeti, and then we should be good. So let's see what he wants to do. I'm kind of hoping for a pass here, to be honest. I would hope that he just sort of burns this mana, plays Ash, and then we can go into Trapper as well. Maybe even Trapper into Yeti. He just plays an Omen Hawk, so that kind of opens up this attack. That's fine by me. Perfectly fine with that. And we will move on. Oh no, we won't. He's going to Crawling Sensation. Okay. That's interesting. Let's hope he doesn't have the second one. Ah, he's got the spiders anyway. Okay. So that makes it a little scary. He flips his Elise. This isn't a card you see all that often anymore, Arachnoid Horror, as we do get the Yeti on the top. That's pretty nice. Because now this turn, okay, so he takes that, and he'll also keep, so he's going for damage. I don't mind that. I don't think he'll be able to push through our Yetis anyway. So I'm actually fine with that. I'm fine with this Yeti dying as well. I'm fine with that trade. We'll just drop the first Yeti. This is what I mean. You're starting to see that next, in these next couple of turns, we could really start dropping some Yetis. And there's no way he can kill this. So we should be good in that sense. I'm guessing he doesn't have Ash. Otherwise, oh, he does. I'm surprised he didn't play Ash then. As we'll go for another Yeti. And this next turn, we kind of have an interesting choice to make. We could go for Kato the Arm. He's on 5 mana. He's probably holding on to some sort of Frostbite. But I think Kato the Arm is a pretty good play here, to be honest. I think it's putting pressure on him again. The only negative would be the 2-mana Ice Veil Archer. Of course, that would be pretty bad, but wouldn't be the worst. We can even attack with the Trapper here, and if he manages to Frostbite, then that's fine. And that's the thing. Brittle Steel is obviously kind of an auto-include in those kind of decks. This is an interesting place. Skitterer that got buffed by the Hawk means that this can block Kato. Means that Elise can block as well. But just the Yetis alone, he doesn't have the best blocks. The only blocks that he's got, he could have a Vile Feast as well, but I'm okay trading a Yeti for 2 cards, I think. So that's probably what he's looking at. He's probably looking at Vile Feast into one of these. Yep. Oh, no Vile Feast. Okay. Well, that's even better. And if he develops now, obviously we will draw as many cards as we can before these things die. There it is. That is absolutely fine. We'll just draw a bunch of cards. Ooh, Might. Might could be very good here, obviously, against the Frostbite at any point. He'll probably kill the Kate of the Arm, one would imagine. But he's got an interesting choice now. So he's going to deal damage to this Yeti. Okay. I will block Ash. I would imagine he takes Kato the Arm there. I'll probably block the Bjerg as well. Okay, he doesn't. So we'll block there. I kind of want to keep the Kato alive. So we'll probably kill that spider as well. Yeah, I'm pretty happy to do that. Frostbite will come in here. Yep. Now we just have to hope for no second Brittle Steel. Which he might have. But he doesn't. So we kill Ash. It's pretty good. I feel pretty decent about where we are. We will drop the Omen Hawk just to buff whatever's next. We have a 1-mana Yeti right now with Overwhelm. Legion Drummer. What's he gonna do? I think let's just draw a bunch more cards first. I don't want to take the risk that he does have something. Reckoning is obviously amazing. Skitterer again. Second Skitterer. Develop the second Yeti. More spiders. Got a lot of spiders in this deck. Okay, but this time I think let's... Do I want to go in? We need to keep 1/5 alive, I guess, but I don't think he's really going to do that much. Like, if he trades the board here, I think we're in a pretty good spot. I don't think he will, but I think if he does, we're in a good spot. Okay, blocks. Okay. I mean, again, I'm kind of happy to trade the board because look at our hand states. Like, this is the power of Trifarian Assessor. We've got both the board state and hand completely now. The only thing he could have here is a They Who Endure. That would be the only, terrifying thing. Which he might have. He very well might have that. And if so, then it's probably game over. But if not, then we're good. I'll always block that. Even if he frostbites, we're good again. So no They Who Endure. So we can probably just drop some things now. Okay, Black Spear. Fortunately, we are just out of lethal range. But I think we're gonna go for as much damage as we can, straight up. Whatever's on the top of our deck should be buffed pretty big. Okay, it's a Katerina, that's pretty nice as well. Gives us the Blade's Edge. Frostbites, those two. This was I should have probably played this as well. Yeah, I definitely should have played that. That was a big mistake by me there. We'll obviously just play that, but I think we should be okay here. I don't think there's much you could play. Why didn't I play this, man? Why did I not play you? I mean, we'll wait still. We'll surprise him. I mean, this game should be ours still. I can't imagine it's not. I highly doubt he's running Ruination. So obviously this time we just attack again. He can't... Okay. Well, it's still lethal. Still needs to frostbite this as well. Oh my god. Oh my god. So he survives again. He's running out of options now though. At some point I'm just gonna... I might just reckoning him if he plays a unit. Okay, into Ruination. I mean, that's fine at this point. We just need to deal 1 damage. So we'll start with the Yeti. Into this. Into you. And between those 3, they should be able to deal 1 damage. So we're gonna open attack. We know he's playing Ruination now. There we go. So that guy hung on for way too long. Way too long. But we got the win in the end. And I think what you saw there was how in sort of mid-range battles, him running Ruination was kind of weird. He must have been playing there who endure, right? But in those sort of mid-range battles, the Trifera, because those Yetis are so hard to remove, how many cards must we have drawn from Trifera and Assessor? And that's kind of the combo that you want. You want early Yetis, 5 attack units, into a big Assessor. So now we're looking at sort of an Undying deck, probably. Another sort of mid-range bout. We've got the attack on 2, which is good. So I kind of don't mind Sentry here, because we might be on the back foot a bit. I'm not sure about Katerina early on, though. I think we probably want as many Yetis. Reckoning could be good, but against Undying stuff, maybe not as much. So we kind of want, maybe Katerina, keeping Katerina was right, but I kind of want Yetis, I think. Okay, that's not really what I was expecting. Not really what I was expecting, but it's a fine card, I suppose. This is kind of a matchup where you'd want more Frostbites, I expect. Because obviously they can do some pretty nasty stuff. I kind of hope that we get a Yeti from this at the very top. I will attack into that. No Elise would be pretty big. I'm pretty glad about that. So he's going to develop what I imagine is an Undying. No? Brood, okay. Brood is interesting. Does put some pressure on us, but shouldn't be too bad. He's happy to end the round there, that's interesting as well. Unfortunately, we didn't get a Yeti at the very top, which means we might have to play this Ancient Yeti. So I will. And we obviously always want to be attacking with it. I'll attack with all 3. I'll go aggro on you. Sure, no Kalista, or at least he's probably on, I imagine, a Vile Feast. I'm not exactly sure what he's running here. He'll have single combat in there somewhere, you would have thought. I kind of want these spiders off the board because obviously they block our Yetis pretty well, so I'm kind of happy that he's trading into these ones. Because obviously they don't do as much. So I think next draw should be a Yeti. Okay, Crawling Sensation. That's not ideal. Because as I say, we do want to be, you know, kind of on a overwhelmed game plan. We might want to Kato the arm here, but also we've got the Reckoning, which obviously could be pretty nasty as well. There's a Swift Wing. I might just want to drop you, to be honest. Yeah, I'll just drop the Hearthguard. I kind of want him to kill this. Because at some point this Reckoning's going to be pretty big. We could have gone for it there, but I don't think it was really necessary. Those were always going to be his trades. So I'm kind of okay with that as well. And next turn we have 7 mana, which means we could go Yeti, Yeti, Yeti. Which would obviously be pretty big. Get a 4/4 Trapper there as well. There's a Cythria. Cythria is interesting. No, okay. Cythria is certainly interesting. We're going to come at him with a bunch of big Yetis though. I think we do attack here. We want to limit his board as much as possible. He has to block. Yeah, he'll block 2 of them. That's kind of what we want. So obviously we want his board to be small for a Cythria attack. Don't want him getting value on it. And we do also do quite a bit of damage. There's KO the arm, that's pretty big as well. That's an interesting play. Did you? Oh, you got that from Swiftwing. Okay. Could go Yeti into Trapper. Don't hate it. That's the thing, we just generate such a big board that it's kind of difficult for a deck like his to really do much. We're obviously putting in a bit of pressure now as well. I mean, he's just... So that's a Desperation Glimpse. Obviously there's nothing we can do about it, but, you know, he'd probably want to do that in a different way. Obviously it's a fine play for him. But I feel pretty good about the state we're in. Okay, Dawn Speaker is a bit scary. Certainly a bit scary. I mean, that's tough to say no to, isn't it? That's so many cards, but also Reckoning could just completely destroy him. What, kills 3 of his units? Kills 1 of mine. Could he be on Ruination? Would you play Ruination in a deck like this with Dawn Speakers? Would you play Ruination in a deck like this? What's the worst that could happen? You could play Brood. Brood would just be... Brood would be bad. We could draw a whole bunch of cards. Sugar. Sugar. We got 5 Overwhelm here. I think I'm gonna go for it. I kind of want to kill that Dawn Speakers. We kill 3 units. We kill 1 of ours. You could single combat like here or there. Oh man, that's a tough choice. Here he goes. I think that's what we single combat. Yeah. I kind of have to hope for no Brood here. A Crawling Sensation as well. We know he's playing. Just likely he survives this turn, but his Cythria will probably die in the process. Kalista. Kalista is fine. He has to block the Cithra as well. So yeah, we're kind of forcing good trades for us here. He's down on 3 as well. He's got no board. We got a 5-5 overwhelm. That's fine. So next turn we do have enough to drop Kato into Assessor, which is also buffed by the way, which is obviously nutty. So that is what we will do. I think this game should be ours at this point. It's going to be pretty tough for him to come back from. I'm just going to let that through. Doesn't make that much of a big difference to me. Kind of want to draw the cards. Okay, Brittle Steel I like. Whirling Death I like. Okay, that's why he wanted to do that. Kind of means he's searching for an answer, and I think we should be good, especially with the Whirling Death. I don't think there's much need. Yeah. 2-0 for the Yetis, and I love what we've seen. We've seen how a deck like this can just sort of outvalue other mid-range decks because they just don't have the unit size to deal with Yetis. As I say, I'm still very unsure about Yeti Yearling. I think that could be a cut. I genuinely think that could be a complete cut. I think Tall Tales is actually okay. I think it's Yearling I'm interested in. And Draven might be a good option to sub it out for. Simply because obviously Draven is a good card. So this is either Katerina Control, which it very well could be, and this is where like something again like Draven would be quite nice. So we don't want the Sentry. Hearthguard is actually okay because it might buff our stuff away from theirs. Double Hearthguard isn't really what I was looking for though. There's an Assessor as well. Glory Seeker is... I mean, it can be amazing. Most likely it's terrible because they'll just file feast it. Although that's an interesting play. That means that we're definitely not going to play it right now. We're going to wait. We're also going to see what he does. We're going to start with just the Yeti. That's absolutely fine. And that's a stack shock that isn't going on our Glory Seeker, and that's kind of the whole point. Because now we're pushing 7. Thing is, we kind of want our Yeti package as much as possible in this matchup. Here's the Thermo Beam, but we've got a big deny for that. I mean, it'll still likely die pretty soon, but doing 5 damage to them pretty early on is pretty massive, and Elixir of Iron is a good card. They do have a lot of drain effects. As I say, you kind of want the Yetis in this because 1 mana 5/5s against this kind of deck just completely dominate it. We might have to go for the Assessor here just to have a board presence early again. You know, we still have, oh, for God's sake, of course that made it not. I still think that might be the correct play because we kind of just need to put pressure on them as much as we can. Am I gonna block that? No. No. He could be on Brood, which is never ideal. Brood would be a punish. I think a more likely punish is something like Whale or Grasp. Here's Brood. You probably had both, to be honest. There's Whale, okay. Whale is fine. As we just absolutely massively punished him. For 1 mana, I don't think he can do much. Thing is, do we drag it across? I mean, I don't think so, no. I think he'll probably block it anyway, right? Because it's the most damage. No, okay, he'll block that, which probably means he's on 2nd Whale, you'd have to assume. But he's down on 4. Oh, Thermo Beam. So not 2nd Whale. And we're feeling pretty okay right now. You know, he's down on 4 pretty early. That's very good for us, obviously. he needs answers and quick, and he doesn't have, you know, banked mana either. So we kind of got him on the back foot here. The question is, what do we play? He played nothing. So I'm gonna add a threat. Still see if he plays nothing. No. So now he's going for something. Mystic shots, static shocks. Get excited on Ledros on you. I'm gonna take a risk here, because if he has to kill this Yeti, if he wastes removal on this Yeti, I'm okay with that. I am fine with that. That's a mystic shot that isn't going on one of these. And now he's out of mana range. So he doesn't have Ruination. So he can't Ruination me. The only thing that the punish is, I think, is a Brood. But I think it's more likely he's got Mystic Shots and Get Excited and Grasps than it is anything else. There we go. Let's go. Yeah. Brood was the only punish there, and that's 3 wins. 3 out of 3. I think that will be the end of the video. We've seen what the Yetis can do. I think this is a super fun deck to play as we get into tier 1 there. I think this is a super fun deck to play. It's super fun because it's fresh, it's completely new. No one was playing Yetis before, but now Yetis are good. They are genuinely good. That change to make the Trapper a 3/3 completely changes this deck. We didn't get to see Katerina, unfortunately, but her buff as well, giving her the Blade's Edge. It's so good. It's so good. It seems so small to just give someone a fleeting Blade's Edge, but creating that card, I mean, sometimes it doesn't hit anything, but when it hits a unit with 1 health, when it hits that Ice Veil Archer, the Avarosan Sentry, it feels so good doing that. So Katerina now is good, playable, completely playable. As I say, 2 of, and honestly, if you don't like Yeti Earling and you want to play Draven or even Ashe, go ahead. I think that might be the correct way to do it. But I think this is a pretty, because this card is, I think, kind of a trap itself. But yeah, this deck, a lot of fun. Try it out. I've been Chris. Thank you for watching so much. Have a nice day.